Right. If you're ready, I'll get started. Sorry, I will want to get a work page.
No worries.
So I'm delighted to be joined by Richard Tice, who is the chairman of the Brexit Party, also a member of the European Parliament for the East of England. So obviously, thank you very much for your time.
Great pleasure.
So the first obvious question, we have a new Prime Minister, Boris, who's promised to deliver Brexit on October 31st, do or die. Do you think he can be trusted?
Well, who knows? We'd love to trust him, but the reality is, of course, that he said in the beginning of the year that the withdrawal agreement was the worst deal in history, and he voted against it twice, and then inexplicably, on the third time of asking, he voted for it. So we have to say, how can you trust a man that does that? So that's what's a real concern for us.
I mean, if Brexit doesn't happen on October 31st, what do you think it says about the state of British democracy?
Look, British democracy has been under threat for the last 2 years, since Theresa May started negotiating what ended up as the worst deal in history. And she even had the tenacity during the European election campaign to admit what we'd all feared, which was that secretly she was going to move us towards a second referendum. But thanks to the Brexit Party, we stopped that. We smashed the European elections. We're the biggest party in the whole of the European Parliament. We got 50% more votes than any other party here in the UK, and thankfully, we basically got rid of the Prime Minister. So that was phase one. Done, we've got a new Prime Minister, we've got a new cabinet. That's all thanks to the Brexit Party. We've now got to hold them to account to deliver. We want a proper, clean Brexit, no later than October 31st.
So say you fear the Brexit Party, which led the Conservatives to adopt Boris, and for Boris to adopt his...
He should thank us, shouldn't he? I mean, he should be sending us a present.
The other state. I mean, what about Brexit excites you most? Or an opportunity?
I've been a Eurosceptic over 20 years. I was involved in the campaign not to join the Euro. Thank heavens we didn't. We haven't got much to thank Gordon Brown for, but we owe him a great deal of debt of gratitude for that. But look, what excites me is the opportunity to actually take back control of our country, our nation. To be in charge of our money, our rules, our regulations. These are decisions that we should take, control our borders, to decide what we want to do, when, to take back control of our fishing. These are massive, massive issues, to regenerate the regions, to invest where we want to invest, without worrying about daft EU rules and regulations and state aid rules, hideous bureaucracy. This is stuff that we don't need. We're big enough, bold enough, strong enough, good enough to stand up on our own 2 feet, on the world stage, and say, we are the United Kingdom. We are a fantastic nation. We're going to do it, and we're going to be a massive, massive success story.
A number of Conservative MPs have indicated that they will speak to Jeremy Corbyn about trying to stop a no-deal Brexit, so obviously it's talk of kind of government of national unity. What do you think would happen if national government of national unity is formed? And more broadly than that...
Well, I'll tell you, it's not a government of national unity, right? It would be a coalition of Remoaning anti-democrats, right? We've not yet implemented the decision of the people, okay? Fine, if they want a review of the decision 10, 15 years after we've implemented Brexit, fine. But the reality is, let's get it done, let's implement it. And this idea, I think we may well be facing the biggest political battle since the Second World War, if not from way before that. The reality is that we have a huge, huge opportunity in this country. Brexit is a massive opportunity. We should embrace it. We should go for it. What we're seeing is a desperate last act by people that actually they think they know better. They think they're the elite because they're in Westminster. They're part of the establishment. It's all nonsense. Believe in the entrepreneurs. Believe in the business people. Believe in the small businesses up and down the country. Let's believe in ourselves. Let's get it done. And let's ignore the whingers and the Remoaners.
Now, obviously, the Labour Party is now committed to holding a second referendum on any Conservative deal, in which it will happen May. Do you think Labour is risking moving away from? Do you think Labour is risking moving away from its voter base?
Without question, over 5 million, core traditional Labour voters voted to leave the European Union because they knew that it was, not good for our country and not good for their communities and their own livelihoods. So yes, Labour is deserting them. It's no longer the traditional Labour Party. It's the Islington elite Labour sort of clique. So yes, they're causing a pincer movement between their Leave voters and between the Liberal anti-Democrats under their new leader, who unbelievably said that even after a second referendum, she still wouldn't accept a Leave vote. That really, really shows the sort of people we're dealing with. But we're going to beat them, we're going to defeat them, and it's going to be a huge, huge success story.
So in terms of seats the Brexit Party could contend in the general election, I mean, is it primarily Labour seats, or is it kind of right across the board?
Look, we've been spending the last few weeks over the summer period. Many people have been on holiday. Basically, we've been flat out working, getting ready for an autumn general election. We're pretty much there. We're basically ready for a general election. We've got hundreds of really high quality candidates. We've been announcing them up and down the country with nominated seats. We've got more announcements to make. We've been investing in gearing up our campaign team, investing in some great technology for our ground campaign. There's so much going on. We've been gearing up, getting ready, and we're ready. We're literally ready for anything that the elite political class try to throw at us and throw at the people.
Well, obviously, one possibility is a general election before Brexit, i.e. parliamentary parliamentary process, and Boris is forced to call or election is fought. In that situation, would you still stand candidates against all the Conservative MPs, including those who backed Boris's provisional October 31st deadline?
Look, we believe in ourselves. We know what the smart option to do is, depending on the events of the circumstances at the time. I mean, things are moving incredibly quickly. A week ago, there was no talk about a coalition of the Remoaners to try and stop Brexit. Now there is. Who knows where we'll be in just a few days' time? But look, we will adapt, we will respond. We believe in our ability, to make sure that whatever we do, we'll get Brexit done. We'll stop there being a Corbyn government, and give this country, the opportunity for a fantastic future. That's what we're focused on.
I mean, so if Boris came to you and said, we want to talk about some kind of electoral deal, you would be open to that as a possibility?
Look, if there ends up being an election which is basically like a Remain alliance against a Leave alliance, then yes, of course, we need to be smart, we need to be thinking about really carefully about actually what will make sure that a proper, clean Brexit is delivered. But let me tell you what we will not accept. We will not accept a repackaged, reheated, reconstituted Theresa May's worst deal in history. So if Boris thinks that he can just tweak the backstop and then push it through, forget it, okay? There'll be no discussions. We will fight him all the way to our very last breath, because that would not be Brexit. That would be a complete betrayal of the opportunity, the huge opportunity that we have. We've nothing worse than being literally half in, half out, no control, essentially being treated like slaves.
Well, I've spoken to quite a few Conservatives who say that if they don't manage to deliver Brexit, the party's finished. I mean, is that something you'd agree with? I mean, do you think the Brexit Party could become the main party?
Yes. Listen, let's be very clear. If the Conservatives do not deliver Brexit on October 31st, and they have to go begging, sort of, a bit like Oliver Twist with a begging bowl, to the European Union for a third time, then you can be sure that the European Union will look for a very long, difficult extension. And yeah, the Conservative Party then would be finished. Our phones would be red hot with furious Tory MPs saying, we want to come over to the Brexit Party. And yeah, we would then get ready to be the party of government, no question at all. And we would be very good at it.
So Nigel Farage could very plausibly be Prime Minister.
I tell you what, he would know how to run this country. He'd be enthusiastic, optimistic. Look, Boris is enthusiastic and optimistic, but if he doesn't deliver, if renegades within his party betray him to stop Brexit, then essentially that party becomes ungovernable. And people will come over to the Brexit Party, there will be a general election, and yes, we could win that election. All sorts of opportunities would follow from it.
I mean, turning slightly to the Labour Party. So obviously the Labour Party now has, for example, a Shadow Chancellor who wants to praise the bombs and bullets of the IRA. I mean, how worried are you about just how extreme the Labour Party has become and how far away from its kind of traditional basis moved?
I think any right-minded person is completely terrified by the prospect of a Marxist, Corbyn-led, McDonald-controlled government that seems to think the right economic model is the economic model pursued by Venezuela, and that the right people to stand against and cuddle up to are, former terrorist organisations. That is nothing to do with where this great democratic nation of ours wants to be, should be, and must remain.
And do you think there's any risk that if there's an election, the Conservatives and the Brexit Party stand against each other, the offshot could become Labour coming through in the middle of the Corbyn government?
The real risk, actually, a much bigger risk for the Labour Party, is that they get squeezed on all ends. They get squeezed by the Liberal Democrats, they get squeezed by ourselves, taking Labour voters. Look, a huge amount's going to happen over the next few weeks, the next couple of months. But we stand ready to respond to whatever gets thrown at us in a smart, intelligent way to make sure that we get Brexit.
Obviously, it's very interesting that you were saying that obviously the Brexit Party could replace the Conservatives as the main party of advice in British politics. I mean, if that's the case,
did you say the right of British politics?
Yes.
Let me stop you there, because we're into a completely different world now. It's not a question of left or right. Tribal issues, I think, have significantly reduced.
Yeah.
It's now much more philosophical. It's actually about right and wrong, common sense, competent politics. I'm convinced that we've got the highest quality candidates we certainly had in the European elections. I think we'll have the highest quality candidates standing at the general election. And it's actually about doing the right thing, spending our money wisely, properly, smartly. Stop wasting taxpayers' cash, our money. That's actually got nothing to do with left or right. We surprised people with our policy, for example, on British Steel, where we believe actually it should be a strategic national corporation, which is a combination of state capital, long-term state money, and smart private sector expertise, as well as employee motivation. That's not a right-wing policy, that is a common sense policy for a really important strategic industry for this country. So look, we will have different views and policies for different issues based on good old-fashioned common sense.
I mean, so even if Brexit wasn't happening, do you still feel there's a gap in British politics that needs to be filled?
Huge, absolutely huge. And that's what we stand for. Good old-fashioned common sense. Tell it as it is. Spend our money properly, our taxpayers' cash, wisely, smartly, so that we don't waste it, we invest it properly, to benefit everybody up and down the country. At the moment, there's just, wherever you look around, there's just far too much bureaucracy, far too much political correctness, and all of this wastes time and costs money, and voters have had enough of it. So yes, there's a massive gap in British politics. People have had enough of the old two-party system that's failed the country.
You mentioned the word affection, which I was very interesting. Obviously, MPs seem to be switching party quite a lot at the moment. I mean, are you in talks with Conservative MPs? Are there Conservative MPs you've got an eye on? Is this something you kind of actively consider?
Look, we're not in discussions with anybody at the moment, but we can look into the future and we can see situations where actually existing MPs of a variety of parties will say, I can't tolerate this anymore. Actually, their ideals now would be more aligned with the Brexit Party than any other party. Look, anything can happen. We are into completely uncharted territory. But you know what? It's incredibly exciting. And we're actually all very lucky to be involved at this seismic, most important moment in our history.
And just one final question. I mean, one of the arguments that those who oppose no deal often make is about the union. They say it will threaten the union. I mean, do you worry at all that it comes by the union, or do you think that Brexit can kind of turn out stronger in the process?
But there's no question in our mind, the Brexit Party, that actually Brexit can make the United Kingdom stronger. Stronger in so many ways. Stronger with our economic growth, stronger with our decision making, stronger in law and order, stronger in defence. There are so many ways where actually we can strengthen everything we do. And in our view, we should strengthen the union, but of course there are other people with different views. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, you take the Scottish issue. They had a referendum, and surprised they were told it was a once-in-a-generation decision. And the losers, here they are saying just a few years later, no, they want another go. We had a referendum in this country on the issue of Brexit. here we are 3 years later, we still haven't implemented. Let's get it done. Let's be a huge success story. And if we're a success story, if we get all of the United Kingdom growing because we properly invest in the regions, then actually, I think, the question mark about, nations want to break away, I think that will dissipate.
Well, Richard, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Great pleasure.